In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. The earth was formless and empty, cloaked in darkness, and the waters covered the deep. Genesis 1:2. Silence stretched across the void, unbroken, eternal, until God spoke. With a single word, light exploded into existence, piercing the darkness, separating day from night. Genesis 1:3. Imagine a universe awakening at the command of the Almighty, a world of endless possibilities, waiting to be shaped, filled, and brought to life. This is the story of creation, where mountains rise, rivers flow, forests bloom, animals move, and humanity is born from the hand of God. Step into this magnificent beginning and witness the power, the order, and the beauty of God's making. Then the Spirit of God moved over the waters, hovering, waiting to breathe life into nothingness. The waters were calm, yet they held the potential for movement, for depth, for the unimaginable beauty that was to come. Then God said, "Let there be light." And suddenly, light burst forth across the void. It was not the sun or moon, for those would come later, but pure, radiant light, born from the Word itself. It spread across the emptiness, illuminating the darkness with brilliance beyond comprehension. God separated the light from the darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. Genesis 1:3-5. The first day passed. Light and darkness had established rhythm, and time itself had begun. Imagine the first rays stretching across the waters, reflecting off an empty, silent world, casting shadows that had never existed before. The stage for life was now set, and the world waited in stillness for what would come next. God spoke again. "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters to separate the waters from the waters." Genesis 1:6. A vast expanse appeared, stretching above the waters, dividing sky from sea. God called this expanse heaven. Genesis 1:7-8. The air was clear and pristine, unbroken by cloud or wind, yet movement began as the Spirit of God hovered over the new sky. Gentle currents of air started to stir, and the faintest whispers of clouds began to form in the distance, hinting at storms and rains yet to come. Below, the waters remained calm but deep, ready to hold life. Above, the sky stretched endlessly, a vault of blue and possibility, a place for birds, for the sun, for the moon, for stars that had yet to shine. The world now had height and depth, an architecture of creation that was deliberate and perfect. Then God commanded, "Let the waters under heaven be gathered into one place, and let dry land appear." Genesis 1:9. The oceans receded at his word, forming deep basins and shining rivers that reflected the first light. Mountains rose majestically, their peaks slicing through the new sky. Valleys opened wide, waiting to be filled with vegetation. God called the dry land earth, and the waters seas. Genesis 1:10. But the earth was still bare, still waiting for life. God then said, "Let the earth bring forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit according to their kind." Genesis 1:11. Grass spread like carpets over hills and valleys. Forests began to fill the land, trees reaching upward, stretching toward the light. Flowers blossomed in countless colors, each petal unique, each carrying the promise of life to come. Fruits hung heavy on branches, seeds inside them, waiting for the moment when life would need them to continue. Rivers glistened and wound through the land, nourishing the soil, reflecting the new light, moving as if the earth itself was breathing. Every leaf, every root, every stem was a deliberate act of God's design. Genesis 1:12-13. God spoke, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate day from night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years." Genesis 1:14. He created the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. Genesis 1:16. Stars appeared, scattered across the heavens like diamonds on black velvet, each placed intentionally, each shimmering with its own light. Genesis 1:16-17. The sun rose and illuminated the land, mountains, and seas. The moon reflected the night light, calm and serene, while the stars sparkled endlessly. The cosmos was now ordered, precise and beautiful, a guide for time, for life, and for humanity to come. Genesis 1:18-19. God said, "Let the waters teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the sky." Genesis 1:20. The oceans erupted with life, whales glided gracefully through the waters, massive and serene. Fish of all shapes and sizes shimmered in schools, their scales reflecting the first light. Tiny creatures danced in the currents, moving with the rhythm of the waters themselves. Birds took flight, their wings catching the wind, their songs filling the sky for the very first time. Genesis 1:21-22. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters and the sky." Genesis 1:22. The oceans and skies were alive, moving and breathing with the presence of God's design. God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds." Genesis 1:24. Lions roared across the plains, their manes catching the sunlight. Elephants trumpeted in the forests, shaking the trees with their weight. Tiny insects crawled across leaves and soil, carrying out the smallest acts of life in perfect synchronization. Every creature had a place and a purpose. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." Genesis 1:26. Humanity was formed, male and female, endowed with life and soul. They could think, create, care, and reflect God's own image. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over every living thing." Genesis 1:28. The first humans stood in Eden, surrounded by beauty, animals moving around them, rivers flowing, trees bearing fruit, and a sky filled with light. They marveled at the world around them, aware of God's presence, and called to care for this magnificent creation. On the seventh day, God completed all the work he had made: the heavens, the earth, the seas, every living creature, every plant, every star. Genesis 2:1-2. God rested, not because he was weary, but to set apart a day of peace, reflection, and blessing. He blessed the seventh day, sanctifying it as an example for humanity, a rhythm for life, work, creation, rest, and renewal. Genesis 2:3. The first humans witnessed this rest, experiencing awe, gratitude, and reverence for the world God had made. Animals rested, rivers flowed gently, and the land stood complete, beautiful, and whole. The story of creation is not just a record of the past. It is a living testimony of order from chaos, light from darkness, and life from nothing. Every sunrise, every river, every star and bird points to a God who is deliberate, creative, and loving. Genesis 1:1-31. Life itself is a gift. Everything we see and breathe comes from God's hand. Humanity is called to be a steward of this earth, to care for animals, plants, and the world around us. Genesis 1:28. Our work, our thoughts, and our actions should reflect the love and wisdom of the Creator. Rest is sacred. Just as God rested on the seventh day, we are called to pause, to reflect, to renew ourselves spiritually, mentally, and physically. Genesis 2:2-3. Life is not just about activity, but about harmony, balance, and contemplation. Creation inspires awe. The vastness of the universe, the intricacy of life, and the beauty of the world around us remind us that everything has purpose and reflects God's glory. Genesis 1:1-31. We are invited to participate in God's ongoing creation. Every kind act, every moment of reflection, every step toward stewardship continues the story that began in Genesis. Humanity carries the responsibility to honor life and cultivate harmony in the world. Genesis 1:26-31. When you see a sunrise, the oceans, or a sky filled with stars, remember the story of creation. Remember the voice that spoke light into darkness, land from waters, life into emptiness. Everything, from the smallest leaf to the tallest mountain, was made by God. Genesis 1:1-31. Creation is not just history, it is living testimony of God's power, wisdom, and love. It calls us to live in harmony with the world, reflecting His image in all we do. Humanity is a part of this magnificent design, invited to care for it, marvel at it, and participate in it. Genesis 1:26-28. In the beginning, God created, and even now, creation continues in every life, every heartbeat, every breath. The earth, the seas, the skies, and all living creatures speak of God's majesty. We are witnesses, caretakers, and participants in this grand story. Genesis 1:31. Marvel at the world around you. Honor it. Protect it. Reflect God's love in all you do. This is the story of creation, eternal and alive, for all who take the time to see it, understand it, and live in its wonder. The light that first spread across the void illuminated waters that shimmered like liquid glass. Gentle ripples moved across the deep, as if the ocean itself was breathing in rhythm with the Spirit of God. Shadows stretched across the empty world, creating depth where none had existed. For the first time, darkness had contrast, and light had purpose. Every particle of the atmosphere reflected the divine order taking shape. The earth, yet barren, waited quietly, anticipating. The sky stretched over the waters, an expanse both infinite and delicate. The clouds, thin and wispy at first, began to gather and drift, forming patterns that would one day bring rain to nourish the land. Wind began to flow, gentle and calming, and the first whispers of air moved across the world. The heavens had begun to take form, a space that would one day cradle birds, storms, and clouds heavy with life-giving water. The waters below were separated, forming oceans that were deep and vast, yet brimming with potential. The symmetry of sky and sea spoke of order, a design deliberate in every detail. When God commanded the waters to gather and dry land to appear, the earth rose majestically. Mountains pushed upward, their jagged peaks piercing the sky. Valleys stretched below, fertile and waiting. Rivers formed, winding through the land, carving paths that would sustain plants, animals, and humanity. The seas glimmered in the new light, vast and untamed, yet contained within the boundaries of God's command. The earth had form and place, and with it came potential, ready to be filled with life. God then caused the land to sprout vegetation. Grasses spread like green carpets across the valleys and hills, swaying as if breathing. Trees rose high, their branches reaching toward the sky, leaves shimmering in countless shades of green. Flowers bloomed in brilliant colors, each carrying seeds within them, a promise of life to come. Fruit hung from the branches, ready to nourish and sustain the creatures that had yet to inhabit the land. Rivers sparkled and wound their way across the earth, reflecting light, moving with grace and precision. Every leaf, root, and stem revealed God's deliberate hand, a testament to his wisdom and care. The heavens were filled with light on the fourth day. The sun rose to illuminate the lands, casting long golden rays that painted the mountains and forests with warmth. The moon reflected gentle light at night, and stars appeared scattered like diamonds across the endless sky. They formed constellations that would guide seasons, days, and years, providing rhythm and order to the world. Each light was placed with intention, each star and planet moving in perfect harmony with the others. Time itself now had markers, and the universe was ordered, precise, and magnificent. When God filled the waters with living creatures, life began to stir in new and wondrous ways. Great whales moved gracefully through the depths, their massive bodies slicing through the water effortlessly. Schools of fish shimmered, glinting like precious gems beneath the sun's first rays. Tiny crustaceans crawled along the ocean floor, unseen but vital, performing the smallest tasks that contributed to the balance of life. Birds took flight for the first time, soaring above the waters, wings catching the wind. Their calls filled the sky, a symphony announcing the birth of life. God blessed these creatures, commanding them to multiply, to fill the seas and skies with life, motion, and sound. On the land, animals appeared with equal magnificence. Lions roared across the plains, asserting their strength. Elephants moved gracefully among the trees, shaking branches as they passed. Deer grazed in the meadows, their movements delicate and precise. Tiny insects crawled across leaves, performing roles unseen yet essential. Each creature was made according to its kind, designed for purpose and function. Then God formed humanity, male and female, in his own image. They were blessed with intelligence, creativity, and the capacity to care for the world around them. God gave them dominion over all living things, calling them to steward the earth, to multiply, and to fill the land with life and goodness. The first humans wandered through Eden, marveling at the perfection surrounding them. They touched leaves, feeling their texture. They listened to the river, hearing its soft flow. They watched animals move freely, observing patterns and behaviors. Every step they took was in a world crafted with care, designed to teach them wonder, gratitude, and stewardship. God walked with them in the garden, a presence both comforting and awe-inspiring. On the seventh day, God rested. The work of creation was complete. Heavens, earth, seas, plants, animals, and humanity, all formed and functioning in harmony. God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, setting a rhythm of work, creation, and rest for all time. Humanity witnessed this rest, understanding that even in perfection, reflection, and pause were necessary. Animals rested, rivers flowed quietly, and the world stood in balance. Creation is more than history. It is an ongoing lesson for all who observe. Every sunrise, every river, every star and bird points to God's deliberate design. Genesis 1:1-31.